Hey there. So another day, another game to play. And today we're going to be looking at Kaia, the Kubernetes AI assistant. And this time it will be based on Pydantic AI and the Kubernetes MCP server. So first thing first, let's look at the code probably. Right, so here is my editor. We can see that this is Kaia, right? One Python file based on Pydantic AI. And where this time I have three model providers. So the first option is Llama with open source models. They weren't very good at troubleshooting Kubernetes. We'll see how one of those models behaves in a moment. Then, and because they weren't so good, I also added the option of using Gemini or the GitHub models. And actually, the GitHub models proved the best. First of all, because it's very easy to start using them. You only need your personal access token from GitHub. So if you already have that set up, you can start using the models right away. And here I'm using the OpenAI GPT-4o, and it's a good model for Kubernetes troubleshooting. And then we're using the MCP server here, starting it as a Docker container. So it comes from Alexey Ledenev, the senior solutions architect at Doit. And of course, this is the system prompt, pretty detailed because Claude helped me write it. And the agent initiation is very simple. And finally, this is the main loop here. Let's see how all of this works. So what are we troubleshooting? In my default namespace, I have one pod here named sleep pod. It's erroring out, and by looking at its logs, we can see that it's trying to run a utility called bleep. And of course, it should have been sleep, but there's a typo, and that's why it's trying to bleep. Okay, now let's see if Kaia using an open source model, and here I'm using Llama with this model, the Llama 3 Grok tool use model, if it will be of any use for us. So to make it easier for the model, we'll start with something simple. So we'll just tell it, show me all the pods in the default namespace. Notice how I'm trying to make it as easy for the model as possible. So first thing first, the agent goes to the MCP server and tells it, please show me what tools you got. And then after getting the list of the tools, it says, I can help you with that. Before I proceed, could you provide me with the context for this request? What context do you need? Basically, current cluster, default namespace. And then it says executing kubectl command get pods minus n default. I've retrieved the list of the pods in the default namespace for you. Here is a brief summary. There are several pods running. Okay, and the pod sleep pod is currently experiencing an error. Yes, I know that. So why is sleep pod erroring out? To investigate this issue, I would run a command to get more detailed information about it. Would you like me to execute kubectl describe pod? Yes, please. I'm sorry, but my current capability are limited to providing help text and executing certain commands directly. To better assist with this issue, I would recommend you using the command tool. But you have the access to the commands. I'm sure you have the access. You've already issued get pods in order to, okay, try running kubectl logs. Okay, so it's doing list tools, and then it's using call tool in order to get the documentation for command logs. Okay, the kubectl log can be used to print. Okay. Please fetch the log of sleep pod. Will you be able to do that? Ooh. So it just listed the tools and didn't do anything. Okay, let's try again. I'm not having a good feeling. I can help you with that. Good with the kubectl command to get the log. Yes. What help is that? What kind of help is that? Yes. Run. Okay, kubectl logs sleep pod. Okay, and this time, okay, analyze the log from sleep pod and tell me why it's failing. Just analyze the logs. Oh. Okay, so it's trying to look at the log. The logs of sleep pod indicates that there's an issue with the command not being functioned, specifically bleep. It seems like this command is required for the pod to operate correctly. Yes, that's right. Let's give it some encouragement. That's right. Okay. Suggest a fix. Ooh, I can help to by just getting the correct use of the kubectl command. Would you like me to provide that? No, thanks. I'll just say thanks and exit. So this open source model wasn't very helpful. Let's see if Gemini or GitHub will be any better. So this time we'll run Kaia.py with Gemini. And we won't make it easier because this is a smart model, a rich model, a very strong model. So we'll just ask it, what's wrong with pod sleep pod? And let it figure out the rest itself. So it's looking for tools, it does describe pod, and from that description it already understands that pod sleep pod is in failed state, the container terminated with exit code, and then it looks at the container command and says that there is a typo, bleep 300. It's likely the user meant sleep 300. Okay, to fix this, I need to create the command. I will update the pod's command to sleep 300. Since pod's rebuild, I will need to delete and recreate the pod. Do you want me to proceed with deleting and recreating the pod with the corrected command? Yes, please proceed. Okay, so it's deleting the pod has been successfully deleted. Now I need the YAML definition of the pod. I will need you to provide the content of the pod YAML file. But instead I can tell it, no, just use kubectl run. Okay, and it recreates the pod. It says the pod has been recreated. Okay, let's just say show me all the pods, so we can see that it's actually running. Here are all the pods in the cluster: fixed pod, nginx, and sleep pod. It's lying a little bit. It's not all the pods in the cluster. These are the pods in the namespace, but still, yeah, the pods are there. We'll say thanks. We'll make sure that sleep pod is actually running, and we can see that it's actually running. Now I want to delete the pod and create it in a failed state again, so that we can allow the GitHub models to have a try. Okay, now let's run Kaia with the OpenAI GPT-4o from GitHub. Okay, so we're using GitHub provider with model OpenAI GPT-4o, and we will ask what's wrong with sleep pod. Yeah, I know I'm not providing the same prompt to them all. I'm actually relying on the GPT-4o. So it says, to investigate when I'm wrong the sleep pod, I need to troubleshoot systematically. Here's what I'll need to do. Let me start by running the initial checks. Could you confirm in which namespace this pod exists, or is it in the default namespace? If you're unsure, I can query across all namespace for you. Yeah, let it query across all namespace. Please find it. Okay, so it tries to do get pods all namespace, and then it tries to do grep. Of course, that doesn't work through the MCP server, so it's smart enough to first get pods in all namespaces, then it probably analyzes the output, and now it finds that sleep pod is in default, and now it goes back to describing the pod, and then it finds that there is an issue with the command. Would you like me to expect the pod's deployment? Or would you like me to help you correct the command for the sleep pod? Please correct. Okay, so it's deleting the pod, and then it's running the sleep pod again. And it correctly runs the sleep pod with the same image. By the way, Gemini ran it with a different command, with the sleep 3600 and with busybox image. Now, GitHub model was much better at that. The GPT-4o, it reran the pod with the same image and the same command that was originally intended. And it also gives us the whole report of what would... Okay, so first of all, verify it's running. Boom! And I hit my rate limit, was exceeded, and now I need to wait until tomorrow, but we've seen that GitHub with GPT-4o gave us the best result. It actually fixed the pod. Here it is running. It found the issue. It was very helpful. It could find the pod across all of the namespaces. So yes, that's my recommendation. If you want to use Kaia, use it with GPT-4o through GitHub. And of course, buy some credits so you don't hit the limit. Bye and thank you.